Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, welcoming you from beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, the headquarters of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Indian River Hauntings. And we're in the, if you're curious where Vero Beach is, we're just below Cape Canaveral on the East Coast, and about the center part of the state. And I got to rub it in, especially my dear friends up in Canada. Weather's great down here right now, so it's a great time to be in Florida, and we really appreciate everybody being here. If you want to know a little bit more about my group, my team, check us out at paranormalfbi.com or indianriverhauntings.com. You can also check our Facebook out at Indian River Hauntings or Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and our YouTube channel, which is at the symbol at Indian River Hauntings 2341. If you want to see some of the investigations that we've been working on, and you can catch some of those also on our Facebook as well as this show. If you want to email me right here and ask some questions, maybe give some thoughts about the show, maybe there's something that you're curious about, would like to ask, get a hold of me at ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. That's ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. You can also just check out all of my shows on the X Zone here at paranormalstakeout.org, and that'll take you to all of my shows. Tonight, very excited, very excited to have our guest, well-known, renowned paranormal investigator Brian Cano is with us tonight. Brian is a featured analyst on Travel Channel's Paranormal Caught on Cano. He's been a guest on History Channel's Curse of Oak Island, which we're going to discuss tonight. He's been on the UnXplained with William Shatner, but where he rose to fame and where we all first saw him was as the tech specialist on the SyFy show Haunted Collector. And if folks remember that with John Zaffis, that was a terrific show. When he's not on the screen, he's this 22-year investigative veteran, can be found sharing all of his wit and wisdom at top-notch events in elite universities, doing lectures throughout the U.S. and internationally. In 2022, his book, Grains of Sand, Tales of a Paranormal Life, hit the shelves and has been an award winner ever since. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Brian Cano to the show. Good to see you again, Brian.
Hey, Larry, how's it going? Good to be here.
It's good. And Brian's been down to my neck of the woods. He's been at an event that we did here, and this is your second time here on Paranormal Stakeout, so it's really great to have you back. And, you know, in case some of our guests are new to the paranormal field, or maybe just living under a rock somewhere, they may not know who Brian Cano is. So if you can take a couple of seconds to just sort of tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing these days.
Ooh, that's where I began, what I'm doing, where I'm going. Yeah, this is
well, how'd you get into? Okay, well, how did you get into this field? What started you on this journey?
You know, I was always interested in the paranormal as a topic. When you're a kid, you believe in everything. So you've got Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. You have all these things that are supposedly out there that you don't question. And I loved watching shows like In Search of with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, we
It
all
was a
did. Yep.
personal favorite of mine. And even though I, to this day, maybe can't remember the content of all the episodes, the end credits was burned into my brain. Seeing Amelia Earhart, Stonehenge, Loch Ness.
Mm.
And I thought, as I watched those end credits and the music played, when I get older, I want to do that. I want to go to those places. I want to solve those mysteries. And thankfully, those mysteries waited around for me till I got older to go and do it myself. So, I mean, I've been to Stonehenge, I've been to Loch Ness, I've been around the world, thankfully, because of what I do now. But it wasn't without a couple of speed bumps along the way. Around college era, I became very much a hardcore skeptic. I didn't believe in anything. I went through a crisis of faith. I was raised Catholic, and I said, God is dead. He's gone. We're alone. Oh. And just to put this in context, I was in college during the 90s, so that was grunge era, and everything was like, grunge. We're all sad for no reason. But the paranormal really brought me back. It's reignited, I guess you could say, faith. I'm a spiritual person. These days, I know there's something out there, up there, around us. And its exploration brought me from skeptic to skeptical believer. But I still think it's important to maintain that skeptical edge. We should never just be so open that we become gullible or naive.
True. But was there an event that that created this metamorphosis for you getting back into the field? Did something happen, or was it just a gradual thing?
Were it only so simple as one event to flip the scripts? It wasn't. It was lots of little things. Back in 2002, some friends and I started a local cable access show called Scared on Staten Island. And it was very much an urban exploration / paranormal investigation type show. And we would go to these abandoned places. We'd look for evidence. We'd try to see what we could experience. And over those first, I'd say, probably 7 years, from 2002 to 2009, there was really nothing that said, okay, here it is. Here's the big thing that's going to change you. Lots of little things. Each experience I had, I read, I researched, I got mentored, I went on cases. Each one of these instances was akin to a grain of sand. And I would take it, I would examine it and go, this, you want me to consider this? And I would throw it down at my feet. And over the years, all these little grains of sand throwing at my feet, metaphorically speaking, one day I looked down and I was standing on a beach made up of all those grains of sand, and I had to consider what that meant. So it wasn't one thing that changed me. It was the realization of, oh, wow, look at all this that I've experienced. I have to change my thinking. And that's why the book is called Grains of Sand, because each chapter in it is a story, a tale of, well, at the time, here's what happened, but I didn't understand it until well later.
Okay. When did you start formally investigating, if you will? I mean, actually spending time going out on cases, collecting evidence. When did that really start for you?
I mean, we started our cable access show in 2002, but I can't even front and say, oh, we were investigators. We were guys with cameras kicking around, just doing things, just off the seat of our pants. We wanted to see what we could experience. So it wasn't as methodical as it could be. And then in 2004, we all know what happened. Ghost Hunters came out. So boom!
Yep, that changed everything.
It changed the way the average person looked at it, perceived it. They're like, oh, this is a thing you could. Oh, those guys are plumbers. Oh, well, they're regular dudes. All right, I guess we could do it too. And so many people put on the black shirt and got out there and did it. And I was even affected too. I said, oh, look at that van. They've got gadgets. They've got tech. I need some tech too. And shortly after that, I got my first EMF detector. What was it? It was the Elf Zone meter.
Oh,
extremely low frequency. And I joke around and I call it the Fisher Price my first EMF detector,
Yeah.
because it's just it has 3 lights and that's it. You have no control over it, and it's not even a meter per se. It's a detector. But I
Yeah.
felt so empowered. I'm like, yeah, now. Oh, here we go. Now we're gonna find.
Thinking back on it, did you really understand what it did? I mean, truthfully.
No, no.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to have as much patience as I can these days when I see people using new things or doing it incorrectly. And I'm like, well, we all have to start somewhere. TV engenders you to believe that, oh, this is a ghost detector. All you have to do is just take it out and it's going to work and you're going to detect ghosts. No, it's all data collection. It's evaluating that data once you have it. And one of my favorite, there's two quotes that I love, and they're both by fictional characters. One being Sherlock Holmes: once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And the second was from CSI. Their lead investigator, Gil Grissom, said, follow the evidence.
Follow the evidence. And a credo of mine, follow the evidence and go where the evidence leads you. The shows, and I want to get into Haunted Collector here in just a couple minutes, helped or harmed the field? Your opinion?
TV shows are entertainment. Be
Mhm.
entertained. I mentioned CSI, crime scene investigation. So a lot of people will watch it. They'll hear the Who's opening, and it's like, oh, here we go, we're ready. And it's very stylized. But there is some truth to it. At the same
Mhm.
time, there's a lot of Hollywood fabrication, and there's people
A
thinking, oh,
lot.
well, I can go into court because of CSI fingerprints, and that's not necessarily how it works. And a lot of people
Oh,
have been misled. But if it
as a
inspires
cop? Oh,
people
yeah.
to learn more, to get, how many people are now in the field of forensics because of that TV show? I see it the
I
same
agree
way
with
with
you.
the paranormal investigation shows. No one should just monkey see, monkey do. You can't watch, say, Grey's Anatomy and become a doctor tomorrow. There's schooling, but if you're inspired by it, that's great. So there have been shows that have done harm, but it's not really the responsibility of the shows to coddle their viewers. The viewers have to do some thinking on their own, because we're not going to be
Yeah.
around when they go into the field, when they go into people's houses, when they're evaluating their evidence. They have to look and get the proper education for that.
Absolutely, and getting that training is what's vital, and just a bugaboo of mine, that's what we don't have enough mentors and people training folks that seriously want to, take this field seriously and do research. So that I totally agree with you on there. Now, we're about ready to take our first break, so I don't wanna get too deep into it, but, you started on Haunted Collector what year?
Oh, that was in 2011.
2011. How did you get there briefly?
Oof, John Zaffis. It was all the ziggity. You can't be in the paranormal seriously for any extended amount of time and not run into John Zaffis. And thankfully, I ran into him at just the right time, and it became a project called John Zaffis: The World Within, which is a
Mm.
documentary we filmed and made about his life.
Interesting, interesting. Well, we're about ready to take our first break. When we get back, I'd like to talk a little bit about that show and where you're going from here. So, folks, stay with us. We'll be back right after these messages. And my guest today, Brian Cano. Stay tuned. And we are back with my guest, Brian Cano. And just before the break, we began talking about the show that really brought you to the forefront of most of us in the paranormal field, and that was Haunted Collector with John Zaffis. You mentioned you became part of a project he was working on. Can you go into a little detail about that?
As I was saying before the break, you can't be in the paranormal for any extended amount of time and not run into John Zaffis. He's a fixture. They call him the godfather of the paranormal, and that's for good reason. Just 2 years ago, he celebrated his 50th year in the field, and I was blessed enough to be able to work with him on the show for as long as we did for those 3 seasons. But before that happened, it was pretty much just running into him on the convention scene, and he saw what me and my guys were doing with Scared. And I remember it was at a convention in Gettysburg, and my motto is always show up strong. We've got to show up strong. Whatever we're doing, we have to present in our best way possible. And for the most part, when we're talking about anyone working on cases or doing things, this is all qualitative research. There's really not a lot of quantitative research going in, and a lot of people don't even know the difference between the two. But when we showed up at the convention, set up our booth, had the TV, had our videos playing, John walks up and he goes, "Huh, how come you guys aren't on TV yet?" And we're like, "Well, we don't know. Your guess is as good as ours." And our material was always very independent. We did it for ourselves. We did it in the age before YouTube, before TikTok, before cell phones, so we did it old school. And I think that prepared us in a certain way to do it right. And once we got involved with him, doing a documentary about his life was probably one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on. We lived in his house for a month. We followed him. We went to work with him. Everything he did, we were there with a camera. When he woke up in the morning in his pink or purple bathrobe and shuffling into the kitchen to get coffee, there we were with the camera. And we learned so much. I'm still learning from that time.
And folks don't really, many folks don't even know what his lineage is. He's related to the Warrens.
He's the nephew of Ed Warren.
So that in itself is interesting. Now, his show, Haunted Collector, he specialized on that show. I realize the depth of his and the breadth of his background, but that show focused on items that were haunted. Can you kind of explain that theory a little bit?
It's funny because when the show came out, everybody scoffed at it because they were used to the ghost hunter / ghost adventure model. And it was very much, okay, we go and here's how it goes. It can only be this. When we introduced the concept that, okay, items can be haunted too, everyone's like, no way. Oh, that's silly. Oh, you guys are just trying to take things. And now hop on Facebook, hop on Twitter. Everybody's got haunted items. Everybody's got museums and looking for things. And it opened up the concept. And sure, we had to be the punching bag for that bit of growing pain for the field. But if you look at it conceptually, everything is energy and vibration. A haunting is just an expression of that. So be it the land, the house, a person, or the item. It's just orders of magnitude. So if an item can be considered to be haunted, one of two things is happening. Either A, there is a spirit attached to it or has some involvement with it that it doesn't want to let go. It's literally attached to this. Or the item itself is a catalyst for pre-existing energy in the home. And this is why sometimes people will move and the activity follows them because maybe they still have that heirloom. Or they've moved into a house, there's dormant activity, they go to a yard sale, they go to, and it could be anything, and they bring the item in and it doesn't mesh with that energy. And all of a sudden activity pops up and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And it might be that item that caused it. And the item itself isn't magic or haunted or cursed. It's just what started off those chain of events.
So are you suggesting perhaps that an item, intelligent versus residual haunts, we've all talked about it, one of the many disagreements and discussions we have in the field. So are you suggesting that perhaps items can be the catalyst for a residual haunt?
It could be. And again, because everything is energy and vibration, look at just let's take something back from chemistry class and physics. All right, take a room, fill half of it with hydrogen atoms, half of it with oxygen atoms. Eventually, over time, these elements they're gonna mix and intermingle and become water. But it's going to take some time. But if you introduce a catalyst to this, say maybe a piece of platinum, boom, you'll get a big expenditure of energy, an explosion. This catalyst causes those reactions to happen quicker. So the haunted item is like that catalyst that, all right, yeah, there are things, there's energy. It might be dormant. It might never present but maybe its introduction into that environment will cause that reaction enough to be perceived by the people who live there.
Almost like that final key to the chain that makes things happen.
Right.
I see exactly what you're saying. Um, this leads into an important question that I do like to ask my guests, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. What's a ghost? What is your philosophy? What is your opinion of this phenomenon that we all seek?
Semantics and nomenclature are very important. I mean, the English language has words for 5, 6 words for every possible object and subject, but they're all slightly different. And it's important to use the right words because they're not interchangeable, or at least they shouldn't be. So you go down the list: ghost, spirit, specter, spook, shade, etc. But as we whittle it down, the 2 big ones, ghosts, I assign to residual. A ghost is literally just that echo. Yes, I've seen a ghost. You can't interact with it. You can't change it. It's an echo of what was. Whereas a spirit has free will. A spirit is intelligent. A spirit can interact with you. You can get its story, get to the bottom of why it's here and what to do about it. And that's why, again, producers on TV don't necessarily care about this. They just want the scariest thing. So ghost hunters, ghost adventures, ghost fill in the blank.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's interesting. I've never heard it quite put like that, but it makes sense. But what do you think? What do you think happens after we finish here? What is this spirit? I like the residual ghost connection. That's a great way to put it. So what is the spirit? What is that? What is it that we're seeing, and why are we seeing it, in Brian Cano's opinion?
And it's got to be opinion, because I mean we've all been kicking around, crawling in the dark, trying to get to the bottom of this, and we don't have any solid evidence to say, well, this is connected to that. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of theories, and not even theories. We have hypotheses that have yet to be borne out. But if the intelligent spirit has free will, just as I'm here talking to you now because I chose to come on this show at 8 o'clock on a Thursday, I wanted to be here, so here I am. Spirits can go back to where they were loved, where they had an experience. Maybe they're curious. We live on a haunted planet. Where we are, they are. So it kind of bristles me when you go to a famous haunt and they tell you about the history of the place, and they tell you about the 3 ghosts that live there and are always there. And I'm thinking, they're not always there. And I mean, if they're intelligent, they're not always there. And even if they do come, it's not an amusement park, so they're not going to perform the way we hope to. And I got to tell you, all the famous places, some of the big ones, which I will not name, people go and expect to have the exact same experience they see on TV or that they heard their friends have. And I'm thinking, what's the point in that? Why do I want to have the exact same experience? I would rather have a new experience and add to the story, get more information. Otherwise, it literally is just an amusement park ride where you're following that same track over and over again.
And I think that's a problem with many folks in the field. And I use a term, paranormal thrill seeker, for example. And the world is full of them. Maybe most of our teams are paranormal thrill seekers, hoping to have that knock in the middle of the night, or maybe see the chair move, and wow, that's great. And they move on with the rest of their lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. But very few people work to research to find out why that chair moved, or why they heard that knock. That's the difference between the two. And a lot of folks, you're right, they'll go to those venues hoping for that one experience they saw on Ghost Hunters. So I absolutely agree with you. But where do you think the spirits are, Brian? Are the spirits, I mean, do we go to heaven? Is there a collective mind on the other side? Are these spirits coming back in another life, reincarnation? Any thoughts on any of that?
Many thoughts. This is a huge topic.
I know.
This is gigantic. But I really do feel, and again, from someone who was raised Catholic, lost religion, came back to spirituality, and is constantly forced to experience things that have me reevaluate what I thought I knew. Kevin Smith's Dogma, the movie said it best. Chris Rock's character says it's better to have an idea, because once you say you believe in something, you have faith in something. Well, there it is. It's in the book. Whichever book you follow, whichever category you place yourself in, people go to war for that. People die for those ideals that they don't know for themselves. They take it on faith. Now, we in the paranormal, we take a lot of things on faith, but we have to be disciplined enough to say, oh, you know what? I was wrong. What I thought yesterday is fine. I have more information. That modifies what I thought I knew. So now I have to change. And this is why I've been the skeptic, the scientist, the believer. I'm a skeptical believer these days because, like I said, it's important to be skeptical, but you have to follow that evidence. So what happens to us when we die? I've been researching that forever, and the closest I've come is this bubble within a bubble theory. That's almost philosophers tapped into it when the movie The Matrix came out. And they're like, oh, we might be living in a simulation, because no matter what happens here, no matter how deep into space we go, no matter how much we explore our reality, that's just in this tiny little sphere. The real world is outside of it. And that could be where spirit resides. That might be our heaven. That might be where we return to. We return to the source. Now, there's a great movie. It's fictionalized, but it helps people understand. But you have to be ready for it. It's called What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams. And in it, it's a very sad movie. So you can't watch it on a sunny day thinking, hey, Robin Williams, oh, that's Mrs. Doubtfire, I'm going to laugh. You are not. It's a heavy movie, but it goes into the topic of, well, when you go to the other side, things aren't always as they seem. And down here, we have your benevolent haunts, like, oh, grandma's here. Oh, I smell her perfume. Grandma isn't always grandma, because when she passes and goes on to the next phase, grandma was only one aspect of this whole energy that represents who she is. So maybe now she becomes something else. Maybe you were something else back then. And we have to remember that.
Heavy thought, but we got to take our break. And I want to get back on this topic along with a bunch of others. I hope we have enough time. Folks, stay with us. Brian Cano is my guest. We'll be back right after these messages. And we're back with my guest, Brian Cano. And, Brian, I owe you an apology. I kind of put you on a spot innocently, but on purpose. And that is getting your opinion on the philosophies, because nobody really knows what it is we're dealing with on the other side. That is the mystery, I think you'll agree, that we are trying to solve. And there aren't really any experts out here, because nobody knows for sure what the heck is going on and why we experience what we do. But do you think, whether it's the TV shows or just human nature, maybe our egos refuse to allow us to admit sometimes we're wrong, or that we don't really know? And have you experienced that? Go ahead.
That's entirely. I mean, that's an excellent point. Our egos so often get in the way. We think we're the pinnacle of evolution, of development, and there's so much we don't know. There's more that we don't know than we do know. And the average person, just on your daily existence, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, there's I'd say a lack of humility in that. Yeah, we don't know a lot. And I mean, asking me the question, what do I think happens? That's an important one. It needs to be addressed. We have to delve into it. Otherwise, what are we doing? We have to know what goal we're approaching. But if we see, oh, that goal is wrong, we have to change course. We have to have the wisdom to do it and just say, okay, you know what? I was wrong.
Exactly. We have to be able to say, maybe your point of view fills in some gaps that I didn't have. I didn't have it quite right. And I think the lack of that humility has been one of the things that have kept us back from moving forward, held us back.
I will say something, though, to a term you used earlier, the field. The field. And, the field is very small. And many people it's important to address what exactly that is. Being interested in the paranormal does not mean you are in the paranormal field. Going on a ghost hunt on a Friday does not mean you're in the field. Wearing a black
Fair enough.
t-shirt does not mean you're in the field. I'm barely in the field. If you're a researcher, yeah, you're doing work. You're trying to evaluate and get down to the data. Yeah. And I've noticed that the bubble of paranormal enthusiasts comes down to tourists, investigators, and researchers. And again, there's nothing wrong with being in any of those categories, but you have to know which category you're in. So the
Know
people
what
who
lane
go
you're
to
in.
famous haunts and want to scare, yeah, they're tourists. People like you and me, and it took me a long time to learn this. I can't get mad at them because they don't do it the way I do it, or do it or as serious as I am, because
Yeah.
they never said they were. But some
Well,
people think they're in one category when meanwhile they're not.
and that's hence the term I use, paranormal thrill seeker. There is, hey, why do people jump out of airplanes for
Yeah.
that thrill? Would I do it? No, I'm not going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but they do it for the thrill. So there's a place for everybody in the field, or whatever we want to call
But
it.
it's not a field.
Granted, but there's a place for everybody in the journey. We'll call it the journey. But the folks that want to find the answers, there is a distinct difference, and there's a place for everybody. But the ones that are trying to find the answers, those are the ones that need to move forward. And you did something, and I would like you to take a couple minutes to talk about this. When you were down and you were at an event we did a few years ago, you did an experiment in the old library in Fellsmere. And I was very impressed with it. My team was very impressed with it. You called it the psychic projection experiment. Do you still do that? You still?
Oh yeah.
Explain that.
I can't remember what the success rate was back in Fellsmere, but to date, it's worked, I believe, 49 times. Now, what the psychic projection experiment is, this is firmly a parapsychological experiment. I posit that a good deal of the EVP that we collect is not coming from spirits; it's coming from us, because there's expectation. There is we're seeding certain things. Now, for example, you hit record on your recorder and you start asking questions. Questions come out like, what year is it? How many are here? How old are you? Okay, now, what do these have in common, these particular questions?
They're all stuff that we want to know. I mean, that we're wanting to.
More specifically, they're numerical questions. The answers have numerical values. So when you ask, what year is it? Already in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I know what year it is, and I know what I'm hoping to hear. When you play it back and you're listening and you hear any sound, you're trying to force it into that preconceived assumption. Now, because we have that, it's impossible for us to wipe our minds and not think that. Maybe when we're making the recording, those thoughts are being projected out and get imprinted on our devices. So yeah, especially for things we know the answers to, I feel like we're doing it. And in an effort to prove that, the psychic projection experiment, I have people sit, I say, all right, guys, we're going to record, but we're going to choose a word, and we're going to do nothing but think of that word for the next 60 seconds and imprint it on the device. Like, all right, guys, you see my recorder and you have the word, get it on there. Get it on there. And I've had to revise the experiment a few times over the years, and I wrote about it in my book. But what I found at Fellsmere was that humor is an important part of that, because I always try to ask the people I'm with, what should the word be? And sometimes if you say like desk, door, house, there's nothing exciting about that. But the provocative words, those seem to punch through. And if there's an inside joke between the people at any given time, I find those words have the veracity to get through. And they've been words like balls, boobs, bacon, scared.
Banana was our word.
Banana. Maybe it's bees. Maybe the bee is an important element to that. But I found that, all right, over the years I've been doing it for over a decade. It's worked 49 times. Not a great batting average, but the fact that it's better than zero and under the conditions that you saw shows that, all right, there's something to investigate. There's something to look into further.
Two of my folks were in there, and they both told me we heard the word banana come out on the tape afterwards. Now, you remember the Philip experiment, I assume?
Oh yes,
From yeah,
it was part of my part of the inspiration for that.
right, and you take the Philip experiment we've talked about on the show, folks. This is a group in Toronto back in the 70s that created a guy named Philip, did it, and going through this just briefly, but created a guy named Philip, did a very closed investigation on it, and Philip responded to him, but Philip was a product of their own creation. Does this go to prove that a lot of a lot of what we may be experiencing, you just said it, is a product of our own mind and what our mind is capable of doing that we have yet to figure out? Does that make sense?
Yes,
We don't know the strength of our own mind and what our own mind is capable of, and in this case, does it create evidence unwittingly?
every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. The fact that something might fit a hypothesis we have in the field or conceptually, it might fit. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the explanation. There could be many explanations. And once we find something that works, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true for every instance that we
Mhm,
encounter it. Now, the power of the mind, I really do feel that, okay, this meat suit we're in, it's resistance. So
mhm,
the soul, the spirits, the spark, whatever we want to call it, it's driving this mechanical thing we're in. And because of it, we're not working at full capacity. We are not at our level best. We do okay for evolved apes, but um, pure spirit, just energy, yeah, that's why it seems like they can do things that are amazing or beyond us. But we do have that potential, but we also do have definite limitation because of the bodies we're in. There's some things that we
mhm,
will never be able to do, and we have to understand that. But at the same time, we have to be aware that we are not operating at peak efficiency.
mm. So is a more comprehensive study of the brain and the brain's capability, and I know there's folks out there that are working on it, but could that be part of the answer to figuring out what this is? Is there a connection between what our brain is, what our mind is capable of, and the other side? Is that maybe a direction we should take?
Yes, I mean conceptually, yeah, that's great. Funding is a different story, and I mean you have lots of parapsychologists working on different areas. You've got Daryl Bem, you've got
Mm,
um, a list that right now is escaping me because again, my brain, my little mushy brain, is not operating at peak efficiency. But yes, when we have to consider the Herculean assignment of where does the soul exist, I feel it's got to be the brain because you can lose parts of yourself. You can lose most of your body,
mhm,
and yet you are still you until the brain goes. And you can have your entire body, but if you get into a car accident, you go into a coma, and you're considered brain dead, you're a vegetable. You are just an automaton, no longer you. So
mhm,
that almost implies that yes, the soul is mixed up in this chemical, physical, electronic thing that's going on up there. And more studies of that. There's a lot we don't understand about the brain. There's a lot of assumptions that are made, but we don't have it hardwired yet.
once again, we just don't know.
We don't know.
We just don't know. Um, Want to talk briefly about Oak Island. I want to spend a couple of minutes on that. We'll probably end up going to finishing the discussion after the break. But Oak Island, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's an island off of Nova Scotia. They are looking for a buried treasure that was first discovered or suspected a couple of hundred years ago. And a team has been out there excavating, trying to find it. And during this, Mr. Cano was invited out there to do a paranormal investigation. How did that come about? How did
I don't know where the origins were, but the Prometheus called me one day. They're the production company, and they said, "Oh, hey, we're doing a show, and we're going to bring an investigator out. That would you like to be that?" I said, "Yes, 100%. I would like to come to Oak Island. And next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Halifax, checked out the islands. There was a lot of the TV end of it where my call time was 10 a.m. I show up at 10 a.m. There's nobody there. And I'm thinking, where is everybody? They give me a call and they say, oh, production got pushed back to 3 o'clock. Just, hang around. Okay, I'll hang around. But that was cool because I got to be on the island by myself. I got to experience it literally kind of one-on-one. And it was quiet because once the production got into full gear, you've got your producers, your production assistants, a camera, everything. And my partner there was Maddie Blake, who hosts Drilling Down. And it was great because while he knew about the topic, this was kind of his first official investigation. And it was great to be with him.
Good. Well, let's put that on hold and we'll get into the nuts and bolts, the meat of it, if you will, right after these messages, folks. So stay with us. More to come. We are back with my guest, Brian Cano, and I want to remind everybody to check us out at our website, paranormalfbi.com or indianriverhauntings.com. Also, our YouTube channel at Indian River Hauntings 2341 and Facebook. Get a hold of me at ghostsky@paranormalstakeout.org. If you have some questions, thoughts, or comments about the show, we'd love to bring it up right at the beginning of the show. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not say, check out all the other terrific programming on the X Zone Radio and Broadcast Network. That's xzbn.net and xzoneradiotv.com. Brian, how can folks get a hold of you, and tell us a little bit about your book before we get back into Oak Island?
Best place to find what I'm doing is my website, neverstopsearching.com. I also have a Patreon site, which is patreon.com/Brian J. Cano. On it, I have my own podcast, mentor sessions that I offer for apprentices so that the training can continue. And my book, Grains of Sand, is available wherever books are sold.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. So let's get back to Oak Island. I mean, that show's personally fascinated me because I'm a detective by trade. That's what I did, and solving mysteries is what is just in my blood, so to speak. So that show's very interesting. Been very interesting to me. And when you popped on that show, of course, all my team knowing you, it became the talk of our little group. When you got out there, you're waiting. You're on this island by yourself. You get a chance to kind of commune with the island, I would assume, kind of. Take us through what happened while you were out there, if you would.
That is kind of literally what I did. Because this was a TV show, and because I would only be there one day, I wouldn't have the luxury of doing things and setting it up on a longer scale. They're like, all right, go, 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 go. And it all came together so quickly. By the time I found out I was doing it, I found myself on a plane thinking, please let something happen. Please don't let it just be one of those things where like, oh, we got the wrong guy. We should have gotten X, Y, or Z from some other show. And I wrote about this in my book, and I was excited because I was aware of the show. I'd watched it. They dropped things like, oh, maybe the Ark of the Covenant is there. There's a lot of Indiana Jones references. And I said, oh, this is so exciting. The Knights Templar. Oh, what am I going to discover? But I still have to deliver. And my biggest, I love recording for EVP. That I feel is the most, the best evidence we have so far, because everything else can be affected in so many different ways. And when we're out there, we literally went to every site. We went to the swamp. We went to 10X. We went down to the docks. We went everywhere and did an EVP session. And as you saw on the show, thank God they were rolling. One of the great moments was when we're looking down that shaft at the money pit, and we said, okay, can you make a noise if you're here? Boom! Maddie jumped. And thankfully, I didn't react. I didn't move. I was, the eyebrow goes. And again, that's just from years and years and years of doing the work. And it was the bane of the producers on Haunted Collector because, TV, they want the big reaction. They want you to yell. They want you to run. They want you to.
You never did.
I don't fight. I don't flee. I freeze. So, Oak Island, when I first got there and I was alone, not that I prayed or meditated, but I pretty much I crossed that land bridge and I said to the island, "Hey, I'm here. I'm in a different country. There's lots of Native American history there." And I said, "Look, I come here with the utmost respect. I can't fool you. You know who I am. Like you could see right
Mhm.
through me. And I'm just saying, if it's your will, please let me have a successful."
Showing respect. That's so vital. It's just showing respect like that, yeah.
And that being said, I mean, on the show, they pick the worst EVP. They pick the worst. And thankfully I didn't meet the brothers because they're like, we're all skeptics. We're all skeptics. Um, I saw them. They were like right there. And Maddie's like, "Oh, I'll introduce you to them." And time being what it was, that didn't happen. But when I was in the war room listening to those recordings, and again, the investigation was great. Maddie, super cool guy. But all the producers are waiting for me to listen to this recording to see what to happen next. I was so stressed. But the first EVP session at the swamp got an EVP. Every location, I got something. But
Mhm.
as TV works, if it doesn't work into the storyline, they might not use better evidence. And that happened on Haunted Collector all the time. I
Mhm.
asked at one point, is the seventh person on the island right now? And we got the answer, no. So thankfully,
Really?
Maddie, myself, the guys, we won't have to die to reveal this treasure.
Wow. So you're saying the brothers were very skeptical,
Well,
standoffish about.
they're skeptical by nature. I mean, these are
Yeah,
these are guys who have been on this island for a while, trying to get down to the realistic treasure hunt. And here comes this
right.
guy who says, "Good ghosts," but you call something Curse of Oak Island. We should look
So
into it.
why did they call you in? What was the reasoning for it?
Well, it was the producers, not necessarily the brothers. And the show
Right.
is a companion show called Curse of Oak Island Drilling Down, and that's where Maddie
Mm,
hosts, and he gives a little more added content. So he's not digging, but he's saying, "Okay, here's what happened, and here's some side things." And after all these years, they said, "Well, we've never really looked into the curse, have we? We should probably get some people." And unbeknownst to the viewers, originally they were supposed to get someone, a First Nations person there to go with
mm,
me.
mhm.
Network said, mm, mm, mm. So I mean,
Really?
unfortunately, but fortunately for me, I mean, it worked out well for me. But yeah, they wanted to look into the curse from different angles.
Were there any stories that had come out that you were aware of or had been told about up front of sightings or events on the island? Because I've heard rumors that there were some things, but I've never gotten anything definitive.
I mean, I was told about some of the things that happened. I forget the gentleman's name, but it was the father who used to live there, but now he won't go back to the island. I think he passed recently. He
Mm,
never stayed on the island. He would do his business on the island and then leave. I think the son is in charge now. Um, they saw like a big wolf type creature, some eyes, and lots of ancillary reports. And at every location we went to, there seemed to be a possible reason for that. Maybe there was a curse. Maybe there was something that was put in place to defend what it is they're looking for. And I guess they figured, all right, this guy's expendable. Send him in there. Let him mess around with the curse. And if he dies, he dies.
yeah, see, he's not a regular, so we can let him go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I won't ask you if the island is haunted, but I am going to ask you, did you feel that there was paranormal activity on Oak Island?
Well, as I said earlier, everywhere is haunted. We live in a haunted planet, so where we are, they are. The fact that there's have been inhabitants there and in the surrounding areas, yeah, there will be things that are inherent to that island. There will also be the transient things that are coming that are curious, like me. Again, I had to cross an international border to go there because I was
Mm-hmm.
curious. But that being said, when I was alone on the island, the fact that I could reach out to the island, I wasn't doing it in a way where like, oh, I hope you're there. I felt like I was, yeah, I'm talking to the island. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt maybe like it heard me. Uh, there was a weight there. There was a definite presence.
Okay, that's fair enough. And one topic we really didn't go into, but you kind of just touched on it there. People get the impression that spirit is landlocked in a spot. They died there, so they must be there. And that is so far from the truth. They are transient. I believe you actually used that word. They are transient. So who knows who you would ancient seafarers you had that may be just passing through at any given time. So interesting. Dying to ask you about that story. Um, so where do you think the future? I'm not going to use the word field because you got me on that one. Where do you think the future of the journey of research into the paranormal, where are we going from here? What are we going to need to do to take this to the next step?
That answer must come from the researcher category, because there is really no future in the first two, the tourist or the investigator, because they're going to keep doing what they're doing, mimicking what they see on TV or just going for the thrill. So there really is no evolution. But for us, we've got to follow that evidence. I'm working on a hypothesis right now where I believe that certain locations might have a sentience of its own, and I've been looking into research done in the plant world, more specifically forests, how forests trees can communicate with each other via
Mhm.
the fungal network beneath it, and there's a lot that goes into that, and that's almost a category for an entire show of its own. And
Yeah.
I've been lecturing that over the past year in a lecture I call Unreal Estate, because I feel like once these locations gain that basic amount of sentience that I am and I need, it doesn't just stop. So it has to do what it needs to do to continue to survive, as do we all.
And I believe the land is ignored often by paranormal investigators or researchers. The land is so very, very important. Do you believe a place, let's take one of the large venues that we've all heard about. Can they be, for lack of a better term, fished out? If
Yes
you
and
get
no.
where I'm going with this?
I feel like, all right, for instance, let's say take Lizzie Bordenhouse. I wrote about this too. Every day, every week, every month, tourists will go there and ask, Lizzie, why'd you do it? Andrew, are you mad you're dead? And they get answers. I firmly believe Lizzie is not there, but someone's answering. Who's answering? Now, nature abhors a vacuum, so Lizzie might be gone off to her next adventure or whatever. Who knows? Maybe you or I are Lizzie, but
Mhm.
something is answering. So if a spirit, let's call him Bob. Nobody pays attention to Bob. Everyone's asking Lizzie. Oh, why does Lizzie get all the attention? Oh, Lizzie, did you do it? No. And Bob answers.
Because
Bob is
yeah.
standing in for Lizzie. So something might be responding. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the authentic haunting. And thereby sometimes it might not get the answers right.
Yeah, so
Enhancing that mystery. It's like that's why we get so many conflicting reports, because yeah, it's not Lizzie there. It's not Andrew there. So a place can get fished out, but at the same time, we're constantly re-energizing it with our attention and our intent.
and at times the other side does lie to us, or like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
just gets it wrong. So, well, the problem with my show tonight is I've got about 3 more hours worth of questions and discussion I'd love to have with you. But unfortunately, we're just about out of time, folks. Brian, I really truly appreciate you being with us tonight. I hope maybe you'll join us again and we can continue this discussion and get more into the philosophy. So once again, thanks for being with us. Brian Cano, folks, thank you. And folks, appreciate you being with us tonight. It was a great show. Remember to take care of your families, hug those kids, and we'll see you on the other side. See you next week. Good night.